your fastest, best, and cheapest technology for extraction.
It gets tiring after a while. So all these lights make you tired. But we're here at Benzinga, and there's an incredible crowd here. And one of my favorite people, one of the OGs from the cannabis industry, was wandering around. So I got a chance to grab him, Shareef. So we're going to introduce you, to Shareef, to the audience out there. And you've done all kinds of cool things in the cannabis industry. We'll go through that, and we'll talk about what you're doing now. And you brought along your CFO, Stephen, who I haven't met yet. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you as well.
Pleasure. And you met George, right?
I did.
Just now.
Excellent. So we're going to talk a little bit about Stephen, a little bit about Shareef, and talk about your company and what you guys do. Who wants to go first?
I'll take it.
Okay.
Thank you for having us, Dimitri.
Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure seeing you. I'm surprised that you're traveling so light today, because usually you've got quite the entourage. But
yeah, the entourage stayed home.
Yeah, I see that. Okay.
Eric's the entourage.
There's never anybody behind the camera, Dimitri. Now we're letting people into the secret. All right. Our company is Terpene Belt Inc. We actually run a cannabis-derived terpene business. It's real cannabis flavoring. So we've been cannabis operators, licensed operators for almost 20 years in our parent company. And, we saw that there was some structural issues in cannabis. You're either going to have to take capital perpetually, you're going to run up a tax bill, or you're going to be taking product out of the back door to try to overcome 280 and all these other structural challenges. Those are bullshit answers. We weren't okay with that being the fate of our business. So we put our heads together. We've got a ton of innovative people in the company. And we decided to try to make cannabis-derived terpenes available at scale, and to do it under the hemp regulatory framework. Typically, hemp terpenes are available. They're trash. They're worth maybe worth $1,000 a liter. There's nothing really exciting about them. But we worked with a genomics company who was able to take cannabis genetics, classic genetics, new wave genetics, and they breed in other cannabinoids to reduce THC, and they take the type 1s and they make them into hemp. And then we farm them at scale, and we use combines to harvest the material and turn it into essential oil, typically called terpenes in this industry, but it's really just essential oil. And we make cannabis essential oil, and we do it without freezing the material, and we preserve the terpenes. And our primary use today is selling to vape companies in the cannabis space. But there's a whole world of opportunity in the flavor and fragrance world. Every natural source has been tapped, and cannabis, because of its regulatory issues and illegality, has never been tapped. So we're trying to bring cannabis through the hemp kind of framework to the flavor and fragrance industry at large. And we're doing cool stuff. It's not just, making vapes. We work with perfumers making fragrances. We work with breweries that want to add flavoring and effect to their beers. We put it in seltzers. The list kind of goes on and on. Once we started getting into it, we're like, oh man, you could reintroduce terpenes into anything. We could put it in edibles. We could put it in flour. We can put it in pre-rolls. So we're just getting started. We're having a lot of fun.
Yep.
This guy, Steven, was advising the company. We did some restructuring, recapitalizing work last year. And I think he liked the people enough to join.
Yes.
So Terpene Belt has been around since when?
In an idea form, 2019. 2020 was the first commercial year. And
very cool. And you came on board.
Yeah, no. So we're at the Benzinga Capital Conference. So the CFO gets the invite to these ones.
Okay, good. They don't let you out of the building.
No, very rarely. So it's nice to get out from behind the spreadsheet. But no, and all kidding aside, been working with Shareef, known him for a little over a year.
He's the man. We skipped right over his cannabis industry past.
He's an OG.
We need to get into that.
What I would say is he's an operator's operator.
Yeah.
Me, I'm kind of classically trained capital markets person. I've been a public company CFO for a number of years. But meeting Shareef was just very refreshing. Having been in the cannabis industry since 2018, you kind of get, a nice flavor of operators and promoters. Shareef is, he's an operator's operator, I like to say. So he's got some good got like really cool vision.
I need
you know,
Steven on my roster.
yeah. So the company itself, it actually like
He's the guy that tells me to shut up when I'm saying too much.
Yeah, it's a novelty because this company actually makes money, which is great. We successfully recapitalized the balance sheet at the end of last year. Just finishing up our best quarter ever as a business. Almost 4 million in sales, which is kind of exciting.
5, almost 4.
Yeah,
Fuck,
it's
almost
3,
4. You're right.
But,
I don't do the numbers anymore.
3.806, but like he was counting.
So what's up, man?
Well, George is the essential oil expert.
Yeah,
So
I want to get out of y'all's way.
No.
Yeah,
I want to hear what George thinks because he was
What's
extracting like flowers and stuff back in the 30s, like the 1930s. I'm just kidding. No, before he joined the cannabis industry 10 years ago, started selling some machines and stuff. But what do you think about what they're doing? What do you
It's
think of
amazing what you did. So, as I understood, you preserved the marijuana terpene profile and created it into a hemp plant. So
Correct.
it's legal. You can make it that way. So pretty much you made an indica into a hemp plant.
Correct.
Like 15 years ago, everybody was trying to do the opposite thing.
Yeah, of course. They wanted high
the
THC.
sativa and high THC.
Yeah.
You turn indica with no THC.
Well, you have like all the international trade restrictions, interstate trade restrictions. Hell, if you're going to sell a flavoring agent to the rest of the world, you need kosher certifications. You need halal certifications. You need IFRA. You need FEMA. You need all this stuff that you're never going to get when you start with a cannabis variety. So that was, that unlocked the potential. We didn't even know it was going to work. Shit, we tried 10 acres first. We had 3 varieties. And after we finished, I wasn't so happy with it. One of the large vape companies saw the material and they wanted to buy all of it. And then another big co-packer wanted to buy all of it. I'm like, okay, all right, this worked. Like we should stop doing this. Put this thing that keeps kicking us in the nuts down, like regulated cannabis, like retail, rough. Like, you ever seen the 280E tax return? It's not something that you want to ever experience. So
we just had Frost Accounting on here.
Frost Accounting, a lot.
We're talking about 280.
Yeah. 280 was a big driver for us. But
right.
You know what? The reality is that we're ushering in specialization in the industry. The reality is that brands are going to be brands. Shelf is going to be shelf. Infrastructure is going to be infrastructure. And we're going to get a more mature supply chain. So we're just one of the first to offer 100% cannabis input to brands that want to scale their products and standardize their products. We may be early, but the industry is going to mature in that same way.
Yep. But you're also one of the industry visionaries, and I don't want you to leave this podcast without talking a little bit about your past and how you started in cannabis and how long you've been involved and why you were able to see this. As you're talking about the reverse of what everybody else was thinking, you're doing something different after years and years of talk a little bit about your past and how you migrated into cannabis.
I got a person in my life who's like my Mr. Miyagi. Okay. He taught me a lot about cannabis, and he was the original founder of Garden of Eden, which is a dispensary that our parent company opened in 2003. So I got
we just dropped 20 years.
That's 20 years. This is our 20th year. In November will be our 20th year anniversary of having a licensed operation in the state of California. So
right.
we're prehistoric, Paleozoic era, compared to what everyone else is, age wise. So I learned retail there, and I learned a lot about cannabis. We were all really inquisitive. We had some interesting folks. My brother was a scientist. We started an analytical lab. We started publishing papers about terpenes and reclassifying cannabis. We wanted to move away from indica hybrid sativa and strain name and go to chemotyping. It was probably a little early, but that same kind of understanding of the plant and the chemical composition of the plant, allowed us to develop some really interesting relationships and some really interesting ideas. So I was like, oh, wow, okay. If we're going to make compatible cannabis, we need to capture data about what these cannabis varieties do to people. So I started contracting with a software development company to build a software.
About what year was that?
Like 2016, something like
2016.
that.
Okay.
and we
Very
took
specific medicine is actually the new science that there is not enough data to put it in, but this is all terps because cannabinoids are all the same everywhere.
yeah,
The terps are modulating all these cannabinoids to act in a certain way.
Of course.
And, you know, terps are the hormones of the plant.
Yep.
They subconsciously modulate how you take the cannabinoids and how they act.
and it's not just nature; it's also nurture because different smells have different connections to different emotions. So everything does a little bit something different. That's why some person will be like, "Oh, I smoke this variety and I go up." The other person smokes and they go down. So
Yeah.
it's actually you need it to correctly chemotype consumers and then understand what type of cannabis will affect them in a certain way. So the goal was always to reach cannabis compatibility, higher likelihood of having the desired effect from the start. So I contracted a software development company. They built a software to manage our lab data, our manufacturing, our cultivation, and our point of sale. And then we started closing the loop and capturing consumer feedback. That company spun out and became Trees, and they only focused on point of sale. But I never gave up the idea that we could disrupt the pharmaceutical industry by producing compatible cannabis medicine. So I went out and figured out how to scale and build the inputs while Trees, the software company, was like, let them figure out, somebody's going to produce the data that's needed here. Somebody's going to close the feedback loop. In the meantime, let's start building infrastructure. So I've got big ideas and big plans about how this works. I now know that cannabis could do so much. Once you're at like the level of understanding that we're at,
Right.
if you want to have better sex, there's something for you. If you want to have better sleep, there's something for you. You want to have better focus, there's something. And it's not just, I picked this up and it says focus and I'm going to be focused. Yeah, maybe 70%
maybe.
chance. But if you want to have compatible cannabis and a 99% chance, you got to do more work than that, right? And now that we have these big super computing AI models and you could dump data into stuff like ChatGPT, like we're going to get there a lot quicker than I thought. It's we're 10 years away from me going to the
terpene belt will get there faster than anyone
I'm going to
else.
go to the movie theater. I'm going to open up an app. I'm going to push sleep. I'm going to suck on the corner of my phone 2 times. And, I'm going to go right to bed. Maybe my kid couldn't sleep. I'm going to give him, a non-intoxicating dose and he's going to go right to sleep too. Like that's the future we're going to live in. Where like the pharmacy will be a case on the back of your phone controlled by your device. Like that's a world that I imagine and we'll get there. Just remember this combo when you're sucking on the corner of your phone.
So how many strains you've developed so far?
We have 45 products right now in the market. We'll do another. We try to do it. We romanticize it and do it like wine. So we sell our products by vintage. So we'll grow the same stuff year over year. So it's like the 22 Jack Herrera or 2023.
Nice shout out to Jack Herrera.
Imagine like 45 rooms and each room we grow separate strains.
No, we're talking 240 acres outdoors.
Outdoor.
Outdoor.
How do you preserve the strain?
When we start with seeds, so the seed we plant, big 5-acre lots. You go and harvest it. When all of it gets the oil mixes together, it doesn't matter if there's pollination or if there's some of these other plants. You just get the profile of the whole lot. So it works fine. Indoors cute for the eye. It's very attractive. Ultraviolets.
I totally agree with them.
But like, if you want to have high levels of phytochemical production, you have to go outside. There's nothing like the sun. Right?
Yeah.
So right now, where you're cultivating, where are you cultivating in the States or
Yeah,
in Colombia yet?
California. No.
What about Colombia?
This is a California story. Low cost of production. That's not the business.
Oh, okay,
We're
that's
trying to
fair.
sell California cannabis, right?
I like that.
So
Fair enough.
right now there's a brand value to selling California cannabis. I've been traveling all over the world sharing California cannabis with people, and everywhere you go they're like California,
Absolutely,
right?
100%.
They go nuts. They go nuts over it. I don't know why.
Yeah.
As soon as you leave the state, there's no brand other than California.
Right.
Like nobody cares about anything else.
You're in Spain and you'll go to a little cannabis club and you'll see California, not USA weed, not American weed. Say California,
Cali menu.
Amsterdam, Cali.
Yeah.
That's what I always tell people. Start your brand in California. Stay in California.
Yeah.
You
Print
know.
your stickers there.
Eventually, it might be like Arizona iced tea manufactured in New York City. But
New
who
York
knows?
City.
Hey, so tell me something, because this is something I've been wondering. So I'm not a cannabis consumer. started to enjoy the edibles to help me sleep. And the Bake Bros has this great syrup in Arizona that I tried in 2014, and it's just like NyQuil. And I was like, I used to be addicted to NyQuil in college in the 90s. I was like, my God, this is perfect.
Sipping on some scissor.
Yeah, no, it's like 4
Sipping on
years.
some
I was
scissor.
like, just NyQuil to sleep and stuff. So I tried the Bake Bros, and I was like, oh man, this is great. This is medicinal. This can help me sleep. It's natural. This is fantastic. So I'm not really a big cannabis consumer, but now I'll go places. People are like, a hot box it. And there's certain times, certain places, and when the room will be filled with smoke, where I'll just get totally calm, and then certain times I'll get tremendous anxiety. And I want that calm. I literally would have that as an incense in my bedroom if I could nail down what it is that's making me calm and just mellow and happy, and that's
you want beta caryophyllene and linalool, like that. That's what you want. That's like sleepy time, calm, relaxing. Like you want to. Typically, what people have described as sativa is terpenylene, alpha pinene dominant varieties, osamine. They get your mind racing. If too much THC, you start having a lot of anxiety.
Right.
The breeding trends towards high T have created an environment where smoking is no longer enjoyable. Like, I'm not trying to smoke narcotic weed. That's what the trend is today. I call it dessert, but it's basically high T and high beta caryophyllene. And what happens is it's like a narcotic. It keeps people very calm and sedated. You're not creative. You're not thinking. You're not no self-reflection. None of that. Yeah. And that's how they keep pushing the THC numbers up, because they have that offsetting beta caryophyllene, which acts like a cannabinoid. So what that tells me is that the future trend in cannabis is not just one cannabinoid with essential oil. You're going to start to see multiple cannabinoids being smoked. I think that whether it's THC and CBD 1-to-1 or it's THC and CBG, you're going to see cannabinoid combos becoming very popular. We'll laugh at the days where we smoked just THC flower. That shit's garbage. Once you've got into the world of multi-cannabinoid and multi-dimensional cannabis, like, that's the future for sure. It's going to be ushered in. It's going to take some time. It's new and novel today. But I won't smoke
so
type
much
1.
agree with you.
Yeah.
Every cannabinoid helps us.
He's a
cell in the
PhD
body.
doctor. You know that?
And that,
You're a doctor?
yeah, I'm a PhD in physics, not a medical though.
Even more impressive.
But he's incredible. So what do you think? What do you think?
Well, I'm so agree with what I hear here, and I'm so excited because I put a lot of thought in that too. I see like each cannabinoid helps certain cell in the body. CBG is the stem cell, THC is the peripheral nervous system, CBN central nervous system, CBG is the collagen, and when you combine it, you really boost your body. And some people may have may need a more stem cell boost. Some other may need more nervous system boost.
Correct.
And when you add the terps is like adding that the cherry and the cake, because I look at this as gourmet. You really cook for your customers. You pick the right blend, and you can see originally there are a lot of different blends that people can. You can spike it with little black pepper that increase the beta caryophyllene. You can put a little lavender, it can increase little.
This guy gets it.
I knew you guys would get along.
So like you see, okay, check this out. And I know that we don't like this space. Nobody likes this space, right? The cannabis, regulated cannabis guys don't like the hemp product space. The hemp product space has accelerated in innovation. All of the greatest chemists moved into the hemp space, and they're doing some really interesting stuff. Now, when you go buy a vape in the hemp space, they've got 5, 6, 7, 8 cannabinoids in it sometimes. They are creating these really robust products, and the cannabis industry needs to learn from there. It's not all about tea. We make, on our cannabis side, we make sleep gummies that have CBN, Delta 8, and Delta 9 THC.
Right.
They'll put you right to bed, like this. Drop of a dime.
You know what? I'm going to try them as soon as you hand me some.
All right, I'll send you some.
Done.
I mean, but what we learned,
I'm like
+1.
what we learned is that the market in flower and the market in manufactured products are both trending towards multi-cannabinoid products, and no one's talking about it. it's like, guys, beta caryophyllene acts on the CB2 receptor. It's obvious that the flower market is saying we want more dynamism in the flower cultivation side and the breeding side. And people are just, falling on their face. Like these guys across the way, Flow Gardens, these guys are making type 2s, THC, CBD products. They're making THCV and CBD like flower. They're doing all kinds of really interesting stuff. But there's not that much of it going on in the regulated world. The regulated world, they're just making dessert and cakes and creams and this and it's all the same shit.
And you think maybe that's also because there's a lack of accessibility and for all these innovators to get involved in the regulated world? Do you think lack of competition, lack of opportunity, lack of access has a little bit to do with it?
I think that they're different generations smoke different things. Like Gen Z smokes more vapes than flower, right? So you have this like the bulk of the dollars being spent are craving that high THC, high beta caryophyllene flower. And the people that are driving that are street culture, like folks like Cookies and Burner. They do a great job. They run the market. That guy, he says this, and then that's where the market goes. So you have all the breeders wanting to keep up with the trend, So you have the old timers are growing classic stuff that they can't move because it doesn't meet the high T requirement. The kids are smoking, whatever they can get their hands on, manufactured goods. They don't really care as much about flower. So you have the bulk of the dollars in the middle just doing whatever the rappers rap about. And that just so happens to be narcotic weed. And you know what? Eventually the market's going to get tired of it. I know that I used to smoke a half ounce a day. And then we went from smoking Bubba Kush to OG Kush. Bubba Kush is like coffee, right? It's an upper. We started smoking OG, heavy myrcene, right? And I became a loser. I'm like, yo, this sucks. This weed sucks. The trended weed sucks. I stopped smoking weed like that. And I think that a lot of the people out there are going to stop smoking this like desserty narcotic flower. And I think that there's going to be new trends. So I'm hoping that that's what happens. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm wrong all the time, but I'm hopeful that people are smoking weed that makes them creative, right. and gets them thinking rather than just kind of locks them into a couch.
Julian and Nick, they run the Colombian Expo to two most connected men in Colombia.
No, I never met them. What's up, guys?
Stick around for a second. You got it. You guys, we're gonna wrap up here. Stick around for a second.
Yeah.
No, man. We could go on for hours.
Yeah, I could talk weed forever.
No.
His kitchen, by the way.
It's already clear he's an expert.
So his kitchen's a science experiment. Like it's like I stayed with him a couple days, a couple weeks ago, and like it's just all out on the table, all different strains, different grafts, different terpene profiles, and like it's just like for me, I was just like, all right, like I came to the right place because like I sit back and listen. I don't have to really.
No.
You got to sharpen your tools because you never know when you might need them.
Yeah.
I have no financial experience, but if you need like a CPR guy or something, let me know, bro. I'm in. I'm absolutely in. I want to be one to introduce you guys from Colombia because there are some really cool strains down in Colombia that even though it's not California, I think Hawaii, Jamaica, California, Oaxaca. There's different places. There's some good stuff going on. Yeah. But I mean, you're absolutely right.
For sure. No, I mean, we treat it like this, like Sparta. Like we're Californians. We stick together. Like if we don't, we're gonna get eaten up by Chicago and Florida MSOs. Those guys are titans. We're like little peanuts, peasants. We're like a peasants rebellion in California at this point.
I am the biggest fan of California brands. Anything coming out of California, and wow, it has been an unbelievably educational podcast. And our goal is to let people know a little bit about how you guys are. A little bit about what's going on and to share in the conversations that happen in Benzinga. Yeah. So I think this was a great one. People got a little flavor. How do people get in touch with you guys?
You could check us out on our website, terpenebeltfarms.com. We got everybody on the inbound distribution list. If something came across, I would see it or he'd see it or some of the folks. Nice. It would get routed appropriately. Absolutely. But also you can find us on LinkedIn. Yep. We're not hard to find. We got a lot of friends.
Any closing thoughts, George?
Certainly was one of the best talks today, and I see the development of terpenes is going to be a separate sound. There are 3,000 terpenes in the world, 300 into the cannabis. They're all different combinations. They're the same modulated, two, they're not the same. So certainly that's going to be coming up. Yep. And congratulations to the hard work.
Thanks,
you
man.
you
Thanks.
got the endorsement of Dr.
Yeah,
George
thanks,
here.
man. Thank you
Cheers.
so much. Appreciate
Awesome.
it.
All right, this
Appreciate
has been
it, man.
another
Nice-
Meet
nice
Unshackled.
to
Get in
talk.
touch with them.
Yep.
Here's the
Cheers.
future.
All right, thanks.